different countries, they celebrate Eid in different days of the day. It depends on moon sighting. So if it's Arafah for the Hujjaj, and obviously we follow Saudi from here, certain countries, as I said, like they do it the next day. So how does it work?
Okay, as long as they are doing what they believe to be the right thing. They're following the ahkam, the Sharia, as far as they can ascertain, yeah? Because in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, they didn't have this technology, and they were just going by the moon sighting. Whatever they had seen, if they saw the moon, the start of Dhul Hijjah on this day, they would count the days like that and do their fasting according to that count. Whereas the counting in Saudi or whatever could have been different and they wouldn't have known. Okay, so that was in their time. So some scholars hold this view. Each country does it according to their own calculation, or sorry, their own sighting, and they calculate what is the ninth, and they just do it like that. As long as they do that, believing it's the truth, and following the sunnah as much as they can, then there's no blame on them, and Allah will forgive them, inshallah. There's no problem. They will get the reward for doing it, because they haven't done anything wrong. Okay? And likewise, people who did it differently, believing that to be the truth, then Allah will forgive them as well. So if you think about Allah's mercy, Allah's not going to deprive someone of reward when they've done everything that they could to ascertain what was the truth, and they followed the truth as far as they can ascertain it. It's not going to happen. Allah is generous. Allah is Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim. It's not going to happen that He's going to deprive someone. So as long as you do the best you can to arrive at the truth, you will get the reward. Just like the Prophet ﷺ says about the scholar who does ijtihad to reach the truth. If he asab, if he gets to the actual ruling correctly, then he gets 2 rewards. And if he just tries and he gets the wrong ruling, then he gets 1 reward. But he's always rewarded. Yeah, so likewise the person. Like, anything else?
I just want you to clarify a particular point. You mentioned that Hajj is based on seminar or Atona, and generally Islam that you hear and you obey. In explaining to probably, not just I won't say the younger generation, but people generally, I've had discussions with people, and sometimes they really want to understand things before they follow. They're not saying they're not doing it. So how do you explain the issue that, well, I'm not saying I'm not doing this, following Allah's ruling, but I want to understand it, before I'm following. If you try and see what I'm saying, I just want a bit of explanation of that.
Okay, good question. Especially for us in the West, we always want to understand things, and that makes it easier for us to follow. Yeah, right. Certain things we can understand. In the Sharia, certain rulings have been given effective causes, and because of that you do this. For instance, the Prophet ﷺ says, why is there the ruling of isti'dhan? لِأَجْلِ الْبَصَرِ. You seek permission before you go into a room, okay? Before you go into a house, before you go into a room. لِأَجْلِ الْبَصَرِ. The Prophet ﷺ says, due to the eyes, meaning you seek permission so you don't see something that you're not meant to. For instance, someone's sleeping, and if you just entered without seeking permission, they might not be dressed appropriately, and then you've entered on them. Okay? You go to someone's house, if you weren't knocking on the door and getting permission before you entered, you may see some of their family members which you're not allowed to see. Okay? So here the Prophet has said, there's a reason why you do this. You seek permission, so you don't see that which is inappropriate for you to see. Okay? Similarly, why is it that a cat is not najis, it's pure, it's tahir? The Prophet ﷺ says, because those cats, tawafuna alaykum, they hang around you, they are always around you. So if this was impure, your life would be very difficult. And just imagine cats, people like cats and have cats around. If that was impure, then how are you going to live? Cats are always around you, touching this, touching that. Everything of yours is now impure. It's not going to happen. So, there's certain reasons. Okay, why is it that The hijab has been prescribed. Yeah? Some wisdoms have been given, but the legislation is there. Can you see all of the wisdoms all of the time? No. Right. Why is Dhuhr 4 rak'ah and not 3 rak'ah? And then Maghrib is 3 rak'ah and not 4 rak'ah. Why is that one? Do we know? No, no one can say. That's what Allah chose. So there's certain things in the Sharia, and normally you find them with ahkam, you know, legal rulings, where you can understand some of the wisdom behind it. Not all, some. And then there are rulings where you will never be able to understand why that's the case. And in regards to that, Allah says in Surah Al-Anbiya, in the second page of Surah Al-Anbiya, He says, لا يسأل عما يفعل وهم يسألون. He's not going to be questioned about what he does. But you, all of you people, will be questioned about what you do. So Allah can't be questioned. Allah's not going to be questioned. He's the authority, He's the majesty. And part of Islam is the test of, will you submit? So part of it is that. But at the same time, Allah knows you have an intellect. Allah wants you to use it. Allah praises your intellect. Allah praises the fact that you can think and reason and work with reason. And He wants you to use it. أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ الْقُرْآنَ. Don't they ponder over the Qur'an? You need intellect to do that. أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ. Don't you think? Right, He wants you to think. But He set a boundary, a limit for your thinking. Are you going to accept that limit? That's the test. Because you could ask about every single thing. But Allah doesn't want to tell you about everything. You're not capable. Or it's a test. Are you going to overstep the mark or not? Because really practical, easy example, yeah? Right, what would you do if your child, every single thing you told them, right, I need you to do this now, go and do this. Every single thing they said, why? 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 What would you do? You wouldn't be happy. You would not. Okay? There's certain times, in certain places, in certain things, as the authority, you say, go and do this, and you expect it to be done. Your boss at work does the same thing. The government does the same thing. Everyone does the same thing. So why does Allah have to explain to you everything? He doesn't. أَلَا يَعْلَمُ مَنْ خَلَقَ وَهُوَ اللَّطِيفُ الْخَبِيرُ. Does He not know best? Allah, the one who created you, and He is the subtle, the one who brings about benefits for you in ways that you could never perceive and understand. And He is Al-Khabir, who understands everything. Okay, so this in a nutshell is an explanation, inshallah. Like, anything else?
But I think at the same time, it's a very good point that you have made. But as the brother said, this point can be exploited in a negative way as well. As we know, it has been exploited at least these days in a lot of negative ways. So I think it is, whereas we can say that it is not possible to give explanation of everything, but at least we should be able to question the authenticity of a statement which is given by a scholar.
That's definitely.
And we should not stop them from asking the authenticity of the statement. There are two different things. I think this is very, very important, because sometimes people give a statement without a proper authenticity as well. And that creates lots of problems and issues in the society.
Excellent point. Sheikh over here, he also mentioned that the critiquing and the questioning of authenticity of statements. You can see an example of Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu. The Hajj that we covered, he found his wife, Fatima radiallahu anha, the daughter of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He knows her, husband and wife. She's the daughter of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The daughter, not only just any old daughter, the daughter that resembled the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in her actions more than anyone else in the world. The daughter that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam would get up and give her his seat, beloved to him. And yet, when Ali radiallahu anhu finds her doing an action which is wrong, it seems wrong to him. He doesn't know that there's a specific ruling that the Prophet ﷺ has just given. He says, you know what, I'm going to check the authenticity of this. Even though he knows the truthfulness of his wife. Without doubt. That's not the case. Maybe she got it wrong. Maybe she misunderstood. Yeah, maybe she heard something wrong. There's all of these possibilities. So he goes and checks. He goes and verifies with the Prophet ﷺ, and then he's content. After it comes from the verified source, he's content. Likewise, the scholars of Islam always, to this day, they're verifying the authenticity of the narrations attributed to the Prophet ﷺ. Yeah, that's why we have all of the science of hadith. Yeah, Quran done, dusted, finished. There's ijma', there's consensus upon the authenticity. But the hadith, there was always this work. Okay, you're never going to find something completely new now. Okay, all of that's been crystallized. But at the same time, there are certain narrations which the scholars differed over the authenticity of. You're never going to reach a final conclusion because the scholars differed over them. Some said they're authentic, some said they're not authentic. These few hadith, whatever it is. And there's that leeway. So there is question, there is critique. And now, especially on top of that, which the Sheikh was talking about, very important, you have lots of people speaking on behalf of Islam. Yeah? On behalf of Islam. And many of them, unfortunately, don't even have the relevant academic or Sharia background to speak on behalf of Islam. So we can't just take their opinion. They say, oh, well, Islam says this. How many times have we said, Islam says this, and actually it's completely the opposite by the Book of Allah. Completely different. Okay, so verifying, when a person says, this is from Islam, okay, where? This has always been the case. Where? Where is it in the Quran? Where is it in the Sunnah? Where is it in our 1400 years plus of scholarship? Because we're not at the beginning of Islam anymore. We don't start the science from the beginning. The way we look at the whole science of Islam now, right, the Quran, the Sunnah, and what was said by the scholars, how it was understood, has been given to us, preserved. If you want to find out what the scholars of Islam said about any single thing, all of the scholars, you can do it at the touch of a button. Yeah, I have so many software packages on my computer, which I use research daily, that I type in this and I find out this madhab said this madhab said that, the other one, these scholars said this about this verse, this hadith, everything. You have it all crystallized. It's not like the beginning anymore. We can verify what someone is saying about Islam in seconds now. It doesn't take long. That verification is a necessity right now because people, they say all kinds of things about Islam and it's not true. So that verification, Jazakallah khair, Sheikh, very important that we do that. We just don't take our deen for granted. Okay? Hear and obey to that which is authentic and truly Islam. Okay? And especially these days where people want to change Islam to make it whatever they want. Very, very important. Jazakallah khair. Brother, then we'll come back to you, inshallah.
I've got a question regarding the Qurbani. Who is required to do Qurbani? Is it the person who has the ability to do zakat, or is there any other rulings on that? That's number one. Number two is, some scholars say if you have 7 members in a family, you have to do either a cow or some big animal. 7 shares, yeah. Or some scholars say no, you can just do sheep or goat as a Qurbani for the 7 members or 10 members. What is the authentic?
Okay, now in this regard, there are 2 main views. Okay, the Hanafi scholars believe that anyone having the nisab, the zakah amount, anyone having that amount at that time must do their own Qurban. That would apply to man or woman. Okay, someone who's old or young. Anyone who has the nisab, that amount of money, must do their own Qurbani. So that's the Hanafi view. The majority view is that the head of the household, the one who's maintaining the household, he's the one, upon him is the obligation of the Qurbani. Okay? Upon that person is the Qurbani, and that covers the whole family that he's maintaining. So if, for instance, one of us has a wife and children at home, that household, upon them is to do 1 Qurbani, according to this majority view. The Hanafis have the other view to anyone who has the nisab. If the wife is rich as well, she has, it doesn't work out to be that much, about 200 and something pounds. Yeah, the nisab, if you're going by silver, something like that, then they have to do a qurbani. Now, at the same time, the more you do, the better. How many did the Prophet ﷺ do? 63 by his own hand. Could have done one.
But he didn't do it every year, did he?
No, that was Hajj he went on. But he used to do the udhiyah, he used to do every year. Yeah. So that's what we're talking about here, the udhiyah, because the hadi is the one when you go to Hajj. Okay, so now, the udhiyah itself, some of the scholars hold it to be a sunnah rather than a wajib as well. Okay? But on the day of Eid, there's nothing better for you to do than the sacrifice. Okay? Because Allah has already said, whoever venerates the signs of Allah, وَمَنْ يُعَظِّمْ شَعَائِرَ اللَّهِ فَإِنَّهَا مِنْ تَقْوَى الْقُلُوبِ. Whoever venerates the signs of Allah is from the piety of their hearts, the taqwa of their hearts. And on that day, just imagine, how much reward are you going to get? Every hair is a hasana. Every hair on that animal is a good deed for you. So the more you can do, the better. Okay, but obligation-wise, you have that opinion, it's obligatory upon everyone who has the nisab. You have the opinion that it's obligatory upon the one who's the head of the household. And you have, it's a sunnah, you should do it as much as possible. Yeah? So some of the Sahaba left it because they were in that leadership position. So if they did it all the time, it would be seen as something obligatory. So some of them left it. So you have these views. The safest view is if you have the money, do it. That's the safest. Yeah? So whenever you can be safer in your options, then do the safest view. Okay. Right.
Just follow up from the question I asked and what Dr. asked earlier on. To another level, there's this, I don't know how authentic or not it is, but there's this view that iktilaf in the Ummah is from the mercy of Allah. And so when there are these different views, as you put there, people tend to choose whatever they want. Some try and get at the truth. Is that that statement authentic, first of all, and its application?
Okay. The authenticity of it is doubted and debated, yeah? I don't want to go into the authenticity of it because generally it's an agreed upon issue. Okay, now when they talk about it like this, the ikhtilaf, if you imagine, Allah knew what was going to happen. Allah knows. As Allah says, لا يضل ربي ولا ينسى. Allah doesn't make mistakes, nor does He get things wrong. Okay, so Allah, in His infinite knowledge, sent down the Prophet ﷺ to teach the companions and to teach Islam. And then they taught it to the next generation, who taught it to the next generation, until we got to this state. And Allah preserved for us the four main madhahib. Yeah? The Hanafi madhab, the Shafi'i madhab, the Maliki madhab, the Hanbali madhab. These main four. And there's the Zahiri madhab and these scholars and their opinions for 1400 plus years. Right. So Allah wanted it to reach to us like this. He wanted us to be at this time with all of this Islam. You could think of all of that as the encyclopedia of Islam. This is what we've been given as our inheritance. This is Islam. As long as it's in there, then it's fine. But at the same time, as long as you do that which you believe to be the truth. Okay? Right, so there's different people with different skills who can go to that encyclopedia of Islam and be able to assess. There's the scholar who knows all of that, or predominantly most of it, and can analyze the strength of the proofs and the evidences. There's students of knowledge who are similar but at a lesser level. And then you have your people who are learned in certain chapters of the deen and certain chapters they're not. And there are those people who don't know and they just ask the scholars, and whatever that scholar tells them, that's what they do. All of this is acceptable because that's the way that that particular person, with his skills, with his knowledge, can ascertain the truth. Okay? So as long as what you are doing is what you have ascertained to be the truth in an acceptable Islamic way, then that's perfectly fine. So, yes, for instance, one of my roles is judgments, okay, in different cases, how to judge. And sometimes you see, you know what, the opinion that fits this case is this one and not that one. And in another case, you know what, the opinion would have been the other. So there you clearly see that this preservation, the way Allah has preserved the deen for us, and certain issues are not absolute. We can't verify absolutely this is definitively the truth. There's a great mercy in that, because it allows that flexibility sometimes. And in certain occasions, you could not do any of those opinions except this one. Okay? So when you see it and you live it, and sometimes it's very, very intense and difficult scenarios. For life and death, critical matters. Yeah? In those situations, you really appreciate, you know what, this type of ikhtilaf, this type, the allowable discussions and looking at evidences, the allowable disputes are perfectly fine. On the other hand though, me arguing with you about nonsense and fighting over it until we get angry and have fights about it, this is not the ikhtilaf we're talking about. This is not allowed, not sanctioned. Because that ikhtilaf that happened, there's no enmity, there's pure brotherhood, there's love, there's admiration for each side. The ikhtilaf that's not allowed is that which breeds enmity between the Muslims. This is not allowed. We're done? جزاك الله خيرا. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك اشهد ان لا اله الا انت استغفرك واتوب اليك.